You've been waiting all week for that Saturday show. Tune in, see what happened, let your troubles go. Work real hard, now it's time to take it slow. Kick back and relax with that Saturday show.
Good morning, it's Saturday and time for another episode of That Saturday Show. Welcome, everyone. I'm Jim Harvey, your host, and joining me today is our director, Tom Dent. Welcome, Tom.
How you doing, Jim?
I'm doing all right. Could be doing better. How's the weather up in your part of town?
Probably the same as in your part of town. There's 90 degrees all over the place on June 12th. I just talked to my relatives in Pennsylvania and New York, and they've got the same heat, if not higher, but they've got incredible humidity, so they're baking away. And now we're almost set for record droughts in the Southwest, so has nothing to do with climate change or global warming, right?
And let's put on top of that the smoke that's coming in from Arizona.
It's all over the place in the morning. A lot of people are wearing, my wife is going like, how come all these people are driving their cars wearing their masks? You know, they don't have to do that. And I go like, they probably have respiratory problems and they're wearing their masks for the smoke.
Yeah, so much for climate change, huh? Yeah, I tell you. Well, I just wanted to let everybody know that at the Albuquerque Center for Peace and Justice this Saturday, today, this very day, June 12th, we are going to have COVID shots. They started an hour ago at 9 o'clock and it's going to run until 12. Free COVID shots. Ages 12 to infinity. But come on down and get your COVID shots. This is nothing to play with. And this new strain that's coming in from India has already hit 6% of the country. We need to be on our guard. So let's make certain we do that. Get those shots.
Get to the Peace Center, 202 Harvard now.
202 Harvard Southeast. Free COVID shots today. And just a reminder, Juneteenth is next week, beginning Friday evening, June 18th, down on Civic Plaza. It's Friday evening, it's all day Saturday, and it's a half day Sunday. Juneteenth celebration. It's going to be great. Music, booths, games, all kinds of entertainment, great information. Come down if you don't know anything about Juneteenth. Come on down and learn about it.
Any food?
And lots of food. Oh, there's going to be tons of food.
We're going to be trying to film it for the following show.
You know, I've been wondering, because the tradition with Juneteenth is roasting a goat and celebrating what they call red soda water. So I'm going to be looking for roasted goat and red soda water at the Juneteenth celebration.
Is that what they did in Texas back then?
That's what they did in Texas.
They do all sorts of strange things in Texas.
Oh, yeah, but goat meat is delicious.
Really?
Don't sleep on it. It's delicious. I lived in Jamaica. I can tell you, goat meat is delicious. So, Juneteenth, next weekend, be there or be square.
Anything else going on? What's happening at the Peace Center?
What's going on at the Peace Center? Lots of exciting things are happening. The Peace Center is going to be opening up again full bore beginning July 1. Meetings are going to be resuming. We're going to be doing movie nights. We're going to have live entertainment nights, all kinds of important and valuable discussion groups. We're even talking about introducing a morning breakfast piece that could happen a couple of times a week. Come and meet some of the long-standing veterans, of peace and justice, and have an exchange with them about history and history in the making. So we're really excited about what's going to be happening at the Peace and Justice Center. Find out more about it. You can check us out, 202 Harvard Southeast, 505-268-9557. It's on here, 505-268-9557. That smoke out there is getting to my brain, I think. All right. So that's what's happening there.
And coming up on Perspectives, we're going to talk about gun violence in New Mexico and the United States. What else do we have on tap today?
Well, that's going to be our big topic for today, and then some incredible interviews that we'll get into. Let's stop.
Thank you, Jim, and welcome to Good News News. I'm your correspondent, Hasani Olujimi, and I'm Gugu for Good News. The goal of this segment is to inspire and uplift you, the viewer, with nothing but good news. Let's jump right in, shall we? Our first story reads like this. Wilberforce University cancels student debt for 2020-2021 graduates. That's more than $375,000. The president of the historically black university made the announcement during the 2021 commencement exercises. President Pinkard said, "As these graduates begin their lives as responsible adults, we are honored to be able to give them a fresh start by relieving them of their student debt owed to the university." That was pretty good. It includes fines and fees owed to the university and tuition balances that were being paid by the student or their parents. The debt will be covered by various scholarships, such as the United Negro College Fund Incorporated, Jack and Jill Incorporated, and other funding sources. Now, this isn't the first time that Wilberforce University assisted its students financially during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, isn't that good news? Hey, I remember being in college and I was so broke I couldn't pay the electricity bill. Those were some dark days in my life. Gotcha. Moving right along, shall we? As you know, June is Gay Pride Month. So, our Gay Pride featured community activist is Harvey Milk. Let's learn a little bit more about Mr. Milk, can we? He was a visionary civil and human rights leader who became one of the first openly gay elected officials in the United States when he won a seat on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors in 1977. Milk's unprecedented, loud, and unapologetic proclamations of an openly gay candidate for public office and his subsequent election gave a never-before-experienced hope to the gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgendered people everywhere. And at this time in the community, they were encountering widespread hostility and discrimination. His remarkable career was tragically cut short when he was assassinated nearly a year after taking office. During 1960s and the early 70s, he became more actively involved in politics and advocacy, and he demonstrated against the Vietnam War. After some area merchants tried to prevent two gay men from opening a store, Milk and a few other business owners founded the Castro Village Association, a first in the nation organized predominantly by LGBT business leaders, with Milk as the president. In addition, he spoke out on state and national issues of interest to the LGBT people, women, racial and ethnic minorities, and other marginal communities. The day that Milk was assassinated, a crowd of thousands spontaneously came together on Castro Street and marched to City Hall in a silent candlelight vigil that has been recognized as one of the most eloquent responses to violence that the community has ever expressed. The Harvey Milk Foundation, established by his nephew Stuart Milk, is dedicated to realizing his vision of equality and authenticity for everyone and everywhere. Isn't that good news? Thank you, Mr. Milk, for what you have done for us. And now look at where we are today in 2021. Wow, progress. So now let's take time to check in with our only sassy grandmother. You know her, I love her. Little Big Mama, what do you have in store for us today, lady?
Thank you, Hasani. I got a question for your viewers today. Why do cows wear bells? Because their horns don't work. Well, remember the last time I told you I joined the gym to do some senior citizen aerobics? Well, my little grandson, he said, Grandma, you're not fat. You're just easy to see. Go stand in the corner, smarty pants. Back to you, baby. Bye.
Well, I guess, little Big Mama, a game of hide and go seek is out of the question. Ha ha! The best way to turn a frown upside down is to get goo-goo for good news. I'm your correspondent, Hasani Olujimi, featuring Little Big Mama. And we'll see you right here next time on That Saturday Show with more good news.
Let's talk about guns. Let's talk about guns. After this past year, all the chaos has erupted and the turmoil people have experienced. Now, some states are giving guns away like they're toys. In Texas, the governor, Greg Abbott, has a bill on his desk that will make it possible for citizens there to carry a gun without a permit. Get that. And in West Virginia, they're giving guns to individuals in exchange for a shot of the COVID vaccine. How insane! Just when we think things couldn't get any worse, this happens. These are days like a living nightmare. We can't wake up from it, not knowing what tragedy or violence might come next. Mass shootings are occurring at rapid rates in other states. Race tensions are extremely high, and government officials want to bring more guns into the mix. Someone's got their head screwed on wrong, which we all know will inevitably lead to more death, more suffering, and in turn exacerbate the festering wounds of ignorance and hatred that already plague our nation. I fear for us, not a mere unachievable notion that this is being done right now with no empathy to the targeted victims, to the innocent people who will be affected by this. This free-for-all approach to guns is crazy. Tom?
These kids being killed during road rage, all the legislation that they're trying to pass in the House of Representatives, that's being stonewalled the same way everything else is. The infrastructure bill, the voting rights bill, not really making any progress at all. Almost everybody in America, the large majority, favor background checks. We shouldn't have automatic weapons in the hands of just anybody. I mean, they're military grade. You don't need them for hunting. You really don't need them at all. And now you have this crazy judge in California that's overturned the ban on automatic weapons and semi-automatic weapons.
And I look here in the studio and I look in the faces of our interns from Next Gen, and that's our next generation we're talking about. And I want them to live. I want them to live long and productive lives. And this proliferation of guns and gun violence, it's just got to stop. We've got to stop it because I want this next generation to have a fighting chance out here. And it looks like people all over the country have just lost their frickin' minds.
Well, the opposite of progress is fear. And you have all these entities, especially during the last 4 years of this past administration. It's all about divide, conquer, racism, just spreading fear all over the place. And what, in the last 4 years, in this year, even during the pandemic, gun sales have reached heights not seen in the past 2 to 4 decades.
Yeah. New Mexico, 2020. 202,322 guns sold in this state alone.
Just last year.
Just last year. That's a lot of guns. That's a lot of guns.
And this isn't really just the Wild West. I don't understand what the need is for it at all. You know, maybe if we didn't have like the revolving door and these lawyers and judges letting murderers out in 3 years or so, or rapists out in 2 months or something like that, there'd be less fear if there was more opportunity, more communities coming together, neighborhoods working together, a lot of love instead of despair and suicide. If you look at these figures, when they talk about all the deaths by guns, there's one figure that stands out. It says something close to 61% of all gun deaths have to do with suicide.
That's that's right.
And we shouldn't be thinking, oh, the world's going to burn and nothing's going to happen politically, and the Republicans and these crazy people have got a stone wall. We might as well give up. We have to get. We have to keep our heads up. We have to have hope for the future. We need to create a much better, prosperous, peaceful world for our children.
That's exactly right. And I just fear for what's happening here, Tom. New Mexico is the 10th worst state in the union for gun deaths.
And sometimes it's ranked the 6th worst.
That's right. And so, In fact, the Daily Beast listed New Mexico as the 6th deadliest gun state in the United States just a few years ago. This has got to stop. We don't like these kinds of statistics.
According to March in the Washington Post, a professor from University of Cleveland says more than 100 Americans are killed daily by gun violence.
100 Americans a day. Mm-hmm. In 2020, gun violence killed nearly 20,000 Americans, according to data from the Gun Violence Archive, and an additional 24,000 guns were used to commit suicides. Mm-hmm. What's happening?
Oh, they still to some degree let people buy guns outright at gun shows. President Biden and other people have introduced legislation to get rid of some of these ghost guns. Apparently you can construct your own gun with a 3D printer, and then you have these websites that still exist, in Utah, where you can just go online and buy whatever you want.
Well, what really frightens me probably more than anything else is what's going on just to the south in crazy Texas. Yes, crazy Texas. If you can have a gun and you don't need a permit for it, how many of those guns are going to find their way into New Mexico? Mm-hmm. I think you're talking about a border wall. There's where we need a border wall to keep the Texans out of New Mexico and keep the guns out of New Mexico.
Well, over 5 years ago, when I had my bookstore in this coffee shop, we had some of these Oath Keeper guys come in, and they're wearing sidearms. And I got up and left the building. I don't feel sick. Who knows what goes on in their heads? And these Oath Keeper guys are some of the same guys that stormed the Capitol on December 6th. And that was not a peaceful tour. That was not a little three-hour Gilligan's Island tour. I mean, they came in there with the intent to hang and execute people.
That's right. That's right.
And how do you know if these guys are safe or not?
Exactly. You don't. And New Mexico residents overwhelmingly support universal background checks. 83% of the residents who want every gun buyer to pass a background check. 83% of people here. So what's happening with our politicians? Whose pockets are they in? Why can't we get safer gun legislation out here to protect everyday people? It's just unconscionable.
Right. Why does this have to be one of the largest, if not the largest, industry in the United States?
That's right.
Look what they did in Australia. I mean, they banned guns, period. And what are the stats on violent gun crimes? Almost zero.
Almost zero. That's right. That's right. That's right. Now, there's got to be a better way, and we've got to make certain that these special interests that have a stranglehold, on our elected officials, they just got to be taken out of the equation completely. If we're going to live, gun violence has got to end, and the only way it's going to end is if we, the people, get out here and make it happen. So I'll tell you again, when you see a candidate that's running for public office, ask them the hard questions about where they stand on gun laws, on gun control, on gun legislation. Ask them the hard questions, and if they don't give you a satisfactory answer, shut them down, because there's no room for more of these politicians that are beholden to the gun lobbies.
Well, according to the news recently, they're making this huge international drug bust with this app and confiscating tons of weapons and tons of cocaine and stopping assassinations and stuff like that. But what are they doing locally? Like, for instance, you're from Chicago. Have you been keeping track of the gun violence there? I mean, a lot of it boils down to neighborhoods of color and poverty and drugs. And there's tons of kids that are killed by guns daily in Chicago and in our urban areas.
And as we wrap up, you're absolutely right. 75 gun shootings every weekend in Chicago. It makes absolutely no sense. It's got to stop. It just has to stop. So welcome back to That Saturday Show. I'm Jim Harvey, your host, and we are very pleased to be observing Pride Month right here in Albuquerque, International Pride Month for that matter. But it would not be fitting and proper if we did not have a good conversation and later some music from the New Mexico Gay Men's Chorus. So joining us today for this incredible interview is the artistic director, Aaron Howe, chorus president, Charlie B., and Jim, are you the board chair?
I am.
And chair of the board, Jim Williams. Welcome all of you to That Saturday Show. I'm just so honored to have you here.
Thank you, Jim. And you're part of our family. You sang with us once. We hope you'll come back in the future, but you're always part of our family.
Well, I'll see what I can do.
We know your real voice. You can't come up with that.
All right. So, Jim, give us just a little background on the history of the Gay Men's Chorus here in New Mexico, which is such a rich and wonderful history.
Sure. We're actually, this is our 40th year as a chorus. We pandemic aside, we've put up our celebration until next year. But we were formed back in 1981 as a small group called the Brash Ensemble. At the time, Common Bond was just starting to form. Oh, yeah. And Alan Stringer, who was the founding director, gathered some people together who wanted to sing. A lot of gay choruses were forming throughout the country. And the group started actually in his living room. And it was just a chance for people who had a like-mindedness of the importance of music and the joy of singing together gathered, but also immediately became this idea of telling stories that mattered, being politically minded, being active in the community. And we've kind of gone the gamut for the 40 years. We've seen ourselves through highs and lows and changes in the world, but we continue to sing. And we're really pleased that this organization has continued to be a real thriving part of Albuquerque and all of New Mexico.
That's great. That's great. And we're all the richer for having you here as well, because I know the seasons come around and we all look forward to the concerts. We really do. We really, really do. So Charlie, you have the distinction of being the chorus president. And the question I have for you is, this past year and most of this year so far, we've been pandemic struck. And so how did you all make adjustments to continue to get good entertainment out to people, good messages out to people in the face of the pandemic and still stand as tall as you do?
Well, it was certainly a challenge and a great opportunity. So the challenge was to kind of keep the community of the chorus itself together and to keep us singing. The opportunity came with finding new platforms and new ways of doing that we never even imagined a year ago. And so we never thought that we would have a number of members of our chorus every week come on Zoom, and we actually rehearsed on Zoom every week. We never had a chance to hear each other sing. We only heard Aaron sing, which is a wonderful thing, and Colin and Mike play. But we were in our own homes, and we rehearsed in our own homes, and then we recorded with recording tracks, and we recorded actually into our phones. We actually sat here and sang into our phone, and then
Wow.
through the magic of some wonderful people in our chorus, Daniel Selders in particular, who did a phenomenal job at really helping us put the soundtracks together, and then a whole artistic team who did a wonderful job in creating these videos, and we sang. And when we had our first performance on, I will not forget that when I heard us sing together. It was such a wonderful, emotional, touching, connective kind of thing that happened. Just hearing everyone blended our voices, even though we were never present with each other. But in a way, we may have been more present with each other than when we're physically present. So that's the way I look at what happened during the past year. I really think that we were very present with each other. We certainly miss seeing each other and singing with each other and hearing each other live. But this opportunity that we had and the challenge that we had this year was something that I think we rose to the occasion and produced some wonderful music. And I'm so excited about the concert that we have coming up for Pride Month, Unbreakable. It's just really a remarkable feat. And that goes to the credit of so many people, including our board, our artistic team, and the members themselves who every week produced a video. I constantly said it was like every week we had a concert, because whatever we did that week, that was what people were going to hear. So it wasn't like rehearsing for 5 months and then doing a show. It was like every week there was a show. And whatever you produced, that was what people were going to hear.
I think that's fantastic, and there's a lot of strength building that went into that kind of an effort, I'm sure, because overcoming the challenges and still being able to come together and create something as beautiful, as I know you all do, that's a remarkable feat, and hats off to you for being able to do that. That gives us a lot to look forward to. And so I want to go to Maestro, our artistic director, Mr. Aaron Howe. Talk to us about Unbreakable and especially about the selection of music that went into putting this together.
Well, Unbreakable is really the beginning and the end of the pandemic for us. It's very interesting because in March of 2020, we were less than 2 weeks away from performing Unbreakable. It was our selected piece for the spring of 2020. And we were so close. We were just about to put it all together, and then we were shut down. And so we kept thinking that there might be a time where we could do it down the road. Like, we thought the pandemic was going to be over in 2 months, and that was not the case. So we really had to adapt as we go. And so that's what this selecting music and figuring out concerts this year has been all about, taking stock of where we're at and making some plans, sometimes on faith, that we're going to have the money or that we're going to have the people that we need to make this happen. And, so as soon as we realized that we were not going to be able to meet in person and that we were not going to be able to perform in live, we started looking into doing this virtual music. And our very first virtual chorus piece was You'll Be in My Heart from Disney's Tarzan. And we thought it just was so perfect for the fact that, we just want to put out that message of, even though we can't be together, we're still together in love and in emotion. But then after that, it was kind of like, do we do one of these every month? Can we do a concert of these? It was kind of hard to say. But then when George Floyd died and a lot of the other things that started to happen during that summer, that really affected us, as it did a lot of LGBT choruses around the country and around the world. It just really resonated with LGBT people to see an African American treated that way. So we immediately thought we need to do something about this. And so even though it was a bit late, we didn't release it till September. We did a little thing called the Make Them Hear You Cabaret. And a lot of the songs in there were really about, Black Lives Matter and about standing up for what you believe in and for things that that you want people to know. And the song Revolution, it comes from that particular cabaret because it was a mixture of a song by Muse, but also a Chilean sort of protest theme. So we felt like it fit the moment for us. And that's kind of how we went after that. We decided to do a holiday concert, full hour and 15 minutes of choral music. And it was, luckily we had the group come together. We had enough people with expertise in sound mixing and video editing. It was a team effort when we really put it together. And then we did another little cabaret called Let the Sunshine In, just to kind of give people a little bit more hope. But always our eyes was on Unbreakable. We wanted to do it. We knew after probably we were into November, we're like, we're not going to be able to sing in person at all this year. So we said, should we do Unbreakable? Should we make it this video premiere? And we decided, yes, we had to. We had to tell these stories. We didn't want to wait until who knows when we could perform again, maybe 2022. We wanted to get it out there. And so it is this history of American LGBT people and events. And it's just an incredible story about some people that maybe like Bayard Rustin, but not as well as maybe his contemporaries. But now we're going to sing more about him. And then Jane Addams and other people like that. And it has been really emotional for our chorus to sing through this music and to learn about these incredible people and some pretty difficult events in LGBT history, like the Lavender Scare and the AIDS crisis. And it's hard, but I'm so glad that we got a chance to sing it. And I think Jim would be able to explain how we're going to carry it into video better than I can. But my job was mainly to find a way to get it recorded and make a really good audio recording with the help of my sound mixing team. And we did that. But the video, we decided to take it to the next level. And so I think Jim could probably talk about that a little bit.
What I want to mention is it kind of just goes full circle to what we started with 40 years ago. What were we doing? We were singing songs to keep us in community and to tell important stories. And that's what this Unbreakable piece is. So rather than just be a concert, we wanted to make a video production of it. And I'm really honored to say that we are the only chorus that has been given the rights to do a virtual production of Unbreakable. It was premiered a couple of years ago by the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus. It's written by Andrew Lippa, who is a Broadway composer. And again, we got permission to do a live show, but now there's a video production. So we've taken our home videos with the chorus. We've taken a homemade orchestra. Aaron hired some really great professional players that, again, played from home. Magic of technology, it's all mixed together. And then we've given that to a team of video editors along with these stories. So we have historic images and footage. And so an audience member who not only enjoy the music, but learn and get to see a little bit about who these people were, how these stories affected us throughout, this last century, last 1,000 years. It's been an amazing time. I can't say my numbers. I don't know. It seems like
100 years sounds just right, Jim. I think a century sounds exactly right.
There you go. We start with Jane Addams in 1900, who was a social reformer. She was the first woman to win the Nobel Prize. American woman to win the Nobel Prize, but she was a lesbian.
Yes.
How did that affect her? We talk about Lem Billings. Some people know the name. He was a contemporary, actually the best friend of John F. Kennedy.
Yeah.
Also a gay man. How did that play into what was going on at that time? The AIDS crisis. Talking about this in a way that is visually appealing, musically entertaining to an audience, but informative, keeping them engaged. Charlie can talk a little bit about this. Our audience has grown. We've thought we can't perform this year, so we're going to lose an audience. Well, the exact opposite has happened. Charlie, you have family members, right?
Yeah. So, I'm originally from back east, and lots of my friends and family still live back east, and they're not. Uh, they don't usually get on a plane to fly to Albuquerque for a chorus concert. They can certainly tune into YouTube and hear us, and so it's been such a wonderful experience for so many of our chorus members to have our friends and family who live across the country and really across the world to be able to hear us sing, who would never be able to hear us sing otherwise. So it's provided a whole different kind of outlet and really kind of a broader sense of community for us, I think, that we've been able to reach so many people in so many places.
And gay choruses and social justice people from across the globe are now enjoying concerts like this and connecting, building community like is what you do there, Jim.
Yes. So we've got about 30 seconds left, but I do want to make certain that everybody knows when and where to look for Unbreakable.
We're running online virtual performances on June 19th, 20th, and 26th. And if you go to our website, nmgmc.org/unbreakable, all the ticket and time information are there. We have a wonderful YouTube channel and a Facebook presence. Come check us out and be part of our community.
We'll be sure to post those as we bring up Revolution at the end of the show today, which I'm really excited about too. I wish we had more time, but we'll just come back and do this again because there's so much more that we can talk about. I really appreciate you guys taking the time with us. Maestro Aaron Howe, President Charlie B., Board President Jim Williams. It is such an honor to have you guys with this Psycho Home Week for me. I really feel happy about it. But we'll talk to you again very soon.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you for all the great work you do.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Peace and blessings to all of you. Take care.
Transmissions will resume. They'll try to push drugs to keep us all dumbed down and hope that we will never see the truth around. Come on! Another promise, another scene, another package lie to keep us trapped in greed, and all the green belts wrapped around our minds, and endless red tape to keep the truth confined. Come on, rise and sing a song of victory, advancing now our flags of unity. Come on, you will come and march along with me, and you will see your singing and your banners and the light of morn, the dawning of the day, announcing now that we are here to stay. They will not force us, they will stop degrading us, they will not control us, we will be courage and open your third eye to see that we should never be afraid to die. Come on, rise up and take the power back. It's time the fat cats had a heart attack. They know that their time's coming to an end. We have to unify and watch our flag now stand. Stand up and fight for the people's victory. A better life is a life that lives to see. To win the fight would be our greatest joy. So hear the noise of 1,000 fighting voices who will rise and sing a song of liberty. And then at last we learn our victory. They will not force us. They will stop degrading us. They will not control us. We will be victorious. Oh, they will not force us. They will stop degrading us. They will not control us. We will be victorious. And now the people who rise up in struggle with voices empowered are crying out forward. They will not force us. They will stop degrading us. They will not control us. We will be victorious. Come on, people, united, we'll never be defeated. Come on, people, united, we'll never be defeated. Come on, people, united, we'll never be defeated. The people, united, we'll never be defeated. The people, united, we'll never be defeated. The people, united, we'll never be defeated. Come on.
Lesson 11. Investigate. Figure things out for yourself. Spend more time with long articles. Subsidize investigative journalism by subscribing to print media. Realize that some of what is on the internet is there to harm you. Learn about sites that investigate propaganda campaigns, some of which come from abroad. Take responsibility for what you communicate with others. What is truth? Sometimes people ask this question because they wish to do nothing. Generic cynicism helps us feel hip and alternative, even as we slip along with our fellow citizens into a morass of indifference. It is your ability to discern facts that makes you an individual, and our collective trust in common knowledge that makes us a society. The individual who investigates is also the citizen who builds. The leader who dislikes investigators is a potential tyrant. During his campaign, the president claimed on a Russian propaganda outlet that American media has been unbelievably dishonest. He banned many reporters from his rallies and regularly elicited hatred of journalists from the public. Like the leaders of authoritarian regimes, he promised to suppress freedom of speech by laws that would prevent criticism. Like Hitler, the president used the word lies to mean statements of fact not to his liking, and presented journalism as a campaign against himself. The president was on friendlier terms with the internet, his source for erroneous information that he passed on to millions of people. In 1971, contemplating the lies told in the United States about the Vietnam War, the political theorist Hannah Arendt took comfort in the inherent powers of facts to overcome falsehoods in a free society. Under normal circumstances, the liar is defeated by reality, for which there is no substitute, no matter how large the tissue of falsehood that an experienced liar has to offer. It will never be large enough, even if he enlists the help of computers, to cover the immensity of factuality. The part about computers is no longer true. In the 2016 presidential election, the two-dimensional world of the internet was more important than the three-dimensional world of human contact. People going door to canvass encountered the surprised blinking of American citizens who realized that they would have to talk about politics with a flesh and blood human being, rather than having their views affirmed by their Facebook feeds. Within the two-dimensional internet world, new collectivities have arisen, invisible by the light of day, tribes with distinct worldviews beholden to manipulations. And yes, there is a conspiracy that you can find online. It is the one that keeps you online, looking for more conspiracies. We need print journalists so that stories develop on the page and in our minds. What does it mean, for example, when the president says that women belong at home, that pregnancy is an inconvenience, that mothers do not give 100% at work, that women should be punished for having abortions, that women are slobs, pigs, or dogs, and that it is permissible to sexually assault them? What does it mean that 6 of the president's companies have gone bankrupt, and that the president's enterprises have been financed by mysterious infusions of cash from Russia and Kazakhstan? We can learn these things on various media. When we learn them from a screen, however, we tend to be drawn into the logic of the spectacle. When we learn of one scandal, it whets our appetite for the next. Once we subliminally accept that we are watching a reality show rather than thinking about real life, no image can actually hurt the president politically. Reality television must become more dramatic with each episode. If we found a video of the president performing Cossack dances while Vladimir Putin claps, we would probably just demand the same thing, with the president wearing a bear suit and holding rubles in his mouth. The better print journalists allow us to consider the meaning for ourselves and our country of what might otherwise seem to be an isolated bit of information. But while anyone can repost an article, researching and writing is hard work that requires time and money. Before you deride the mainstream media, note that it is no longer the mainstream. It is derision that is mainstream and easy, and actual journalism that is edgy and difficult. So try for yourself to write a proper article involving work in the real world, traveling, interviewing, maintaining relationships with sources, researching in written records, verifying everything, writing and revising your drafts, all on a tight and unforgiving schedule. If you find you like doing this, keep a blog. In the meantime, give credit to those who do all of that for a living. Journalists are not perfect, any more than people in other vocations are perfect. But the work of people who adhere to journalistic ethics is of a different quality than the work of those who do not. We find it natural that we pay for a plumber or a mechanic, but demand our news for free. If we did not pay for plumbing or auto repair, we would not expect to drink water or drive cars. Why then should we form our political judgment on the basis of zero investment? We get what we pay for. If we do pursue the facts, the internet gives us enviable power to convey them. The authorities cited here had nothing of the kind. Leszek Kolakowski, the great Polish philosopher and historian from whom this book takes its epigraph, lost his chair at Warsaw University for speaking out against the communist regime and could not publish. The first quotation in this book from Hannah Arendt came from a pamphlet entitled We Refugees, a miraculous achievement written by someone who had escaped a murderous Nazi regime. A brilliant mind like Victor Klemperer, much admired today, is remembered only because he stubbornly kept a hidden diary under Nazi rule. For him, it was sustenance. My diary was my balancing pole, without which I would have fallen down 1,000 times. Václav Havel, the most important thinker among the communist dissidents of the 1970s, dedicated his most important essay, The Power of the Powerless, to a philosopher who died shortly after interrogation by the Czechoslovak communist secret police. In communist Czechoslovakia, this pamphlet had to be circulated illegally in a few copies, as what East Europeans at that time, following the Russian dissidents, called samizdat. If the main pillar of the system is living a lie, wrote Havel, then it is not surprising that the fundamental threat to it is living in truth. Since the age of the internet, we are all publishers. Each of us bears some private responsibility for the public's sense of truth. If we are serious about seeking facts, we can each make a small revolution in the way the internet works. If you are verifying information for yourself, you will not send on fake news to others. If you choose to follow reporters whom you have reason to trust, you can also transmit what they have learned to others. If you retweet only the work of humans who have followed journalistic protocols, you are less likely to debate your brain interacting with bots and trolls. Less likely. We do not see the minds that we hurt when we publish falsehoods, but that does not mean we do no harm. Think of driving a car. We may not see the other driver, but we know not to run into him. We know that the damage will be mutual. We protect the other person without seeing him dozens of times every day. Likewise, although we may not see the other person in front of his or her computer, we have our share of responsibility for what he or she is reading there. If we can avoid doing violence to the minds of unseen others on the internet, others will learn to do the same. And then perhaps our internet traffic will cease to look like one great bloody accident.
The march is still on around the country to steal our liberty, to steal our votes, to do anything and everything they can. And we're talking about those Republicans who are hardcore, sore losers. New legislation everywhere to take away our liberties, to take away the sanctity of one of the pillars of democracy, which is voting. Well, Jessica Wachs, incredible singer from right here in Albuquerque, has put together a wonderful piece called Sweet Georgia, because that's where all this nonsense started. Let's listen to her music. Let's make certain that we buy her music, because proceeds go to support the anti-vote steal campaign that's happening around the country. Buy Sweet Georgia. It's an incredible piece of music that everyone should own.
Sweet Georgia, the ghosts are out, blind eyes and grinning faces under the swirling sheets of white and scarlet. Yes, I know, should be a nighttime story, should be a nightmare, but no, it's our reality. So they go over the streets and alleys under the guise of rallies, compromising everything worth fighting for. They meet no air of poison, The marbles, bare guns, frozen, sides already chosen. The ghosts are out, but some won't run away. When it seems history is here to stay. Some keep on sleeping, others dream it's safe to sleep. Some never sleep till they awaken their dreams. Sweet Georgia, sweet dream in Georgia. We can breathe, Georgia. Yeah, you'll be on our minds. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-da-da-da. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da-do-do-do-ba-ba-da-do. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. Ba-ba-da-da. Ba-ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-do. The gates are down. Broken doors and disgraces. Phantoms come out creeping from their dark hiding places. And they know, but turn the other way. The twisted tongues, now they've got nothing to say. So they go where bodies hit the floor, where they suffocated voices just a summer before. And we know silence heard around the world. No fist comes down like condos bleeding to be heard. But hope was sowed in soil and 10 years of sweat. Some won't remember, but we'll never forget. Some never sleep, they dream just so we can sleep. The dreams awake, the nightmare breaks, and we believe. Thank God we can believe it. Sweet Georgia, sweet dream in Georgia. We can breathe, Georgia. Yeah, you'll be on our 'cause it's sweet Georgia, sweet Georgia. We can breathe, Georgia. You'll be on, yeah, you'll be on our minds. You'll be on our minds.
Until the next time, it's time to say goodbye. When you out here in the streets, keep it real, 505. We love everybody, we just want to let you know. Thanks for tuning in to that Saturday show.